Hi guys, it's summertime, so today I will talk about our Russian, or broadly speaking, Slavic version of the Midsummer. Today I will tell you about the tradition of celebrating this holiday in Russia. I will show you different rites, and since I live in immigration in Tbilisi, Georgia, I still try to connect to my culture, and here together with other expats, immigrants from Russia or Belarus or Ukraine, we gathered to celebrate this holiday. So in this video there will be lots of nature, lots of culture. Also, I will share some unpleasant situation, and overall we will talk about the notorious traditional values that are mentioned so often now in Russia and in the world in general. What is a traditional value and so on. So let's start. We gathered by the lake, eating barbecue, and the most important thing, we were going to watch the Midsummer movie. And when in our group chat we were voting for a film we're going to watch, I didn't vote for the Midsummer because I watched this movie multiple times and I wanted to see something else, but anyway, mostly people voted for it, and I thought that, well, it is based to watch Midsummer on this day because this movie is about the Midsummer celebration, but in Sweden and with some horror elements. Now we're going to watch Midsummer. When I came to the lake, I was confused because there were many people I didn't know, but funny enough, with all my queerness, I started performing the classical female role. I just joined a circle of other women who were weaving garlands. It is one of the traditions of this holiday, and it was so funny that we were sitting in our girly circle while men were doing barbecue. I have to film this part of the video now because I am catching the last sunlight, and actually I wanted to film this in the flower garland, but I still haven't finished it, and I didn't expect that it would be so difficult. I will show it to you later, I hope so. So this is my attempt to make a garland. It's quite difficult because these herbs are quite hard, and I don't know how to actually connect it. I don't know whether it will stay, but this is what I got. It looks more like a crown. And to be honest, wearing these garlands, I felt so good about myself. I felt feminine and I liked it. I like different styles. I like baggy clothes. I don't like dresses or skirts. Sometimes I wear my hair down, sometimes in a knot, but I think that it was very therapeutical for me to explore this part of my appearance.
Ребят, присоединяйтесь. Ой, нет.
So this holiday is named Ivana Kupala, or just Kupala, and it comes from the word kupat, which means to bathe someone. According to the Christian tradition, it refers to John the Baptist who bathed Jesus in the Jordan River. But this holiday actually traces back to the times when Rus has not adopted Christianity yet, when it was still pagan. There are some other names like Ivan Travnik, which is Ivan the herbalist, but we don't know how this holiday was called before. This holiday is celebrated on the day of summer solstice, when days start to shorten, but the sun still burns hot and the earth gives all its energy to the harvest. So in Russia, in Ukraine, Belarus, Baltic countries, and overall across Europe and even other regions, I will talk about this later, this holiday is celebrated by the so-called anti-behavior, when people are doing mischievous things in order to scare off evil spirits. So we are trying to recreate some of the rites of this celebration. One of them was floating flower garlands over the river, but in our case it's lake. We had to throw it and make a wish. It is related to finding your love and happiness in your love life.
Стоп, а желание можно загадывать? Завязывается и загадывается желание. А ее загадывать. Вот дерево. Вот это дерево, веточка.
So this is an improvised banya or sauna, and it's really interesting how they managed to make it just here on the shore. And so I wanted to show you the banya. I went there, I wanted to film like how they built this, but then I remembered that, oh my god, there are naked men, and I forgot. Ой, а вы там голые, да, будете? Мы
Вообще, как бы, да.
Yeah, unfortunately, I will not show you much of it, but it's really cool how they managed to make this banya in a tent.
Можете просто раздеться и зайти сами.
Another thing connected to this holiday is the myth about the blooming fern. It is believed that if you find the blooming fern in the forest, it is a miracle. All the illnesses will be cured. You'll gain magical powers. You'll become invisible. You'll be able to understand animals and find the hidden treasure. But the trick is that it is not possible because this plant never blossoms. And all the fairy tales that tell about people who went to the forest in the search of such a fern, all these tales end not with happy ending. And another tradition, it is decorating a tree with ribbons, and again here we have to make a wish when we tie this ribbon. Actually, I heard that these traditions vary in different regions, and somewhere this tree should be destroyed, burnt, or somehow drowned in the water. Somewhere it is a specific tree like cherry tree. Yeah, but luckily today we didn't have to destroy it. We just found a tree that grows here, and it's okay now.
Хочу быть крутым.
Так можно было, блин.
Может, не надо? Обычно эти истории заканчиваются вот так.
Another rite is jumping over a bonfire. Now it's still not big. It needs some time.
Все, и будет уже счастье и готово. Батл чего-нибудь поставлю просто.
Jumping over bonfires is believed to purify and brings good health. The fires often were made from old junk, and it was a way to expose a witch, because it's believed that witches would not jump over this fire, fearing that it will expose them.
Давай.
Also in Russia, it's celebrated in the form of festivals, for example, Kupala Fest or another one near St. Petersburg. Even though now it's more commercialized, I think it's still fun. I would visit such a holiday if I was able to be in Russia now. But there is something questionable that I don't like, which is the movement of neo-paganism. There's nothing wrong with celebrating your traditions, your roots, but some people go too deep into nationalism, and often it is connected by the idea of Russian Empire and the belief that Ukraine and Belarus are essentially Russia. I'm not saying that all the people who visit these Kupala events are the nationalists, but, you know, for example, I learned that one of the band that was performing there is Kalinov Most, and they actively supported the Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and I think that their statement while performing on this festival is really clear. And I listened to a podcast where a culturologist from the city of Krasnoyarsk told about her experience of celebrating Kupala. And the thing is that Krasnoyarsk, it is a city in Siberia. And it is so amazing that settlers, people who moved from the western part of the Russian Empire, who moved to Siberia, still brought their traditions with them. Because what this culturologist said was mentioning this day when people basically splash each other from water guns. And as a kid, I played this with my friends, but it wasn't tied to a specific day. We would do it just whenever we wanted in the summer. And as far as I know, in other Russian cities, it was celebrated when people pour water on each other on the very central square, or even if you are in a bus, be careful because a person with a bucket can come in and splash you with water. I know it was celebrated in Khabarovsk several years ago, but now it's not celebrated in the city center, as far as I know, maybe in some villages, on some allocated places. And interestingly, the Georgia's neighbor, Armenia, has a similar celebration, but it's tied not to Kupala holiday, but to an Orthodox Church holiday, which is Feast of Transfiguration. And in Armenia, it's called Vardavar. And I regret I didn't visit Yerevan this year because just recently, on the 27th of July, they had this huge celebration. And oh my God, I wish I was there. But I was so amazed when I learned that actually not only in Slavic regions on the territory of Russia this holiday is celebrated, because the Turkic peoples celebrate a holiday called Sabantui. It's also celebrated in the summer. And what is more, in the Republic of Sakha-Yakutia, they have a holiday called Eheh, or sorry, I cannot pronounce it because in Russian it is Iseh, but in Yakut they don't have S sound, so it's better the native speaker pronounces it.
Биһиги сахалар олустаптыр брахник быт ыгык болар. Биһиги ыгыгы сайын көрсөбүт.
And oh my God, I've never visited it, but the videos look so impressive. Actually, this reminds me of the Midsummer movie mood even more than Kupala celebrations. I think it's amazing. I dream of seeing it. And if you are traveling to Sakha, I recommend you to visit it. It's also celebrated in the summer. You know, the summer in Yakutia is very short and it looks just magnificent.
Аттан туран сон сурактак жоммутун арыяллы. Көмө буала көмүскө сананы күеретчи тутан. Карыстас сананы карабыл оңостон.
Now we're going to watch Midsummer.
Ладно, тогда уезжай. А я останусь.
I'm already back home and I want to share some story. I was doubting whether I should tell about this because it is a video about holiday and traditions, but then I realized that what I'm going to tell you exactly is connected to these very traditional values. There was a case of harassment during the event, and one woman arrived there. Everything was fine. We started watching the movie. She sat at the chair, but then a man approached her from behind and touched her thigh, and this is what she told. She removed his hand and said no, but he continued, and then he touched her butt, and she was outraged, and he just went away. And you know, it all felt pretty hectic because it was dark already. Not everyone even heard and knew what happened because people were watching the movie. But this woman, she wanted to bring attention to what just happened. Like what? It was really sexual harassment. And then she asked the organizer of this event and other guys to do something about this, to talk to that man. And this whole event was organized by a community of Russians here in Tbilisi. And all the people who participated there, you know, we are like politically conscious, and it's guys who at least have some understanding about what harassment is. But the guys were firstly hesitating, like, did he really harass you? What should we say to him? Are you sure that he harassed you? Because like he hugged me a little bit as well. Maybe he was just nice to you. And then they went and told him, you know, what you did is not okay. He's drunk. And he just said, oh, no, nothing. I did nothing wrong. And the woman said, apologize, like you have to apologize. And then he looked at the organizer of our event and said, oh, Sasha, you're my bro. So firstly, he denied the fact that he harassed her. And secondly, he kind of justified his behavior by the fact that he knows that guy. When this woman told him, okay, you're not apologizing, I call the police, he just escaped. And the thing is that this man is not from our community. He is a Georgian man who sells meats at the market. He actually volunteered to help at our event. Of course, it has nothing to do with his nationality. It is more about this specific man's mentality and probably age, because he was like 60 years old, and probably he had a lot of cases like this when women could not fight back. And there was another Georgian guy a little bit younger than that man, and he was like, you have like a feminism brain.
Да нет, он не прав.
And all this happening at the backdrop of such an amicable community event. And what is more, what a coincidence. This woman just came from a feminist event, and after the long working day, she was happy to finally find some rest, and her whole evening was spoiled, given that 2 hours before she was talking about women's rights and feminism, and now it is just beyond my understanding. And that's why I am including this into this video about traditions, because again, this holiday goes back to our ancestors' traditions. But you know, unfortunately, in some societies, what happened, this harassment is also a tradition. They just roll their eyes when women try to protect themselves. In Russia, actually, when activists try to start conversations about the domestic violence law or law against harassment that we still don't have, guys. It is outrageous. Russia is the only country among the post-Soviet space that does not have such a law. Because when activists started to discuss this issue, there were arguments from our church or just from some politicians like, no, this is going to destroy our traditional family values. Women will simply use this law to put their men into jail. We don't need that. This is Western influence. And this attitude should stay in the past. Women got rights for education and voting at the elections just 100 years ago, and for our society it is already a great progress. Our society is going through a change where we think in concepts of masculinity and femininity. We learn about struggles and needs of vulnerable groups. We start to worry about animals and our environment, so such outdated attitude has to stay in the past as well. And I think it is a good conclusion for this video, actually. I'm returning with updates, and don't mind the background. I wasn't even trying to find a blooming fern. I'm just hoping to revive mine. But yeah, I want to share what happened after the event. So the next days there was an argument in our group chat because the guys just shared how nice they spent their time there. But I decided to tell about this harassment that happened because not even everybody knew about that. Then that woman who is a victim also joined the conversation, and we learned that that day she wasn't the only one, because there was another girl, young woman, who had to leave the event because that man also touched her. And when we asked her in the group chat, didn't you go to the organizer? And she said, no, I didn't even think about it. And it's so sad that the only way for her was to leave, and she couldn't ask anybody for help or at least for some reaction. And in the chat, there were guys who supported us girls, but also I saw some cynical and skeptical messages like that you were making too much fuss about it. As I mentioned, they are very progressive, but even they still didn't express enough understanding, and that's what astonished us. I did not expect such a blindness to violence. I didn't know that it is so hard for these guys to understand the female experience. Yeah, but there is some good news, because after that we decided to gather with our female circle and we arranged only women barbecue. I felt very comfortable there. Nobody interrupts each other. There was another only girls event, and the woman who was harassed also joined this event, and she wanted to rewrite her negative experience, and there among other girls she shared and told the story one more time, and we all supported her. And also that day we had art therapy. So firstly there was a meditation where we had to imagine some safe space and then imagine our fears. And then we had to depict this fear on the paper. So this is my collage. My main obstacle is anxiety, and what is more, social anxiety. So here in the left bottom quarter, I put myself, my thoughts. This red cloth represents my childhood traumas, family abuse, but also some funny and nice memories embodied in this centipede. And all the other quarters is the world that I am afraid of. I want to join these people, I want to travel, I want to try different things, but my anxieties are interfering with them. And these threads are these very anxieties because they are an obstacle for me. You see, they are covering me. But oh my god, this wasn't planned. Yeah, but that's not all, because actually during the art therapy we had to make another thing that helps us to fight with these anxieties, and this blue thread is supposed to do this, and it is supposed to remove this red thread if I want. So if I don't want, I can be anxious. I allow myself to do. I used to create collages before, but this was the first time when I truly enjoyed this experience. I think that this meditation in a very safe space really tuned me in. So this was my video about traditions. Share in the comments what you think about the topics I discussed here. What are traditional values for you? Is it about family gatherings, religion, or maybe your language? Thank you. Like this video if you enjoyed watching it. Also, you can support my channel by the links below. Subscribe to my channel to not miss other videos. And yeah, have a nice day. Goodbye. Пока-пока.